The year was 2008, a year of change, or so we thought. The Yakuza gangs had made a name for themselves throughout the entire world, and no one is safe. There once existed a girl who lived in a small town in Japan, whose heart was as warm as the sun, and she had a friend that she trusted more than anything. They did everything together, but the little girl would find the hard way that not everything was as it seems. Her father's friend was the head of a Yakuza gang, and the girl's friend was never her friend to begin with. All she wanted was their parents' lives, as did her father. It was a tragic sight, one that the young girl never forgot, and her heart was never the same again. This is the story of finding oneself, and to learn the truth that lies below the earth. This is the little girl's tale. Her name? Joanne Jojima. Joanne used to be full of joy, but after her family's passing, she became cold and void of connecting with others. That is until fate pricks her in the hand. Joanne's fate would soon change forever when she met a girl named Sora Emiko, a quiet girl who wanted to see the stars. However, Sora had a dark secret. Whenever Sora's stress levels elevate, a transformation occurs, turning her into a wild beast. On that day, the manifestation of Joanne and Sora had begun to blossom, formerly known as stands. For Joanne, it was Mimicat. For Sora, Liger eyes. Meanwhile, someone's eyes were set on the two of them. A man named Lance, a sergeant of the World Star Foundation, had both Sora and Joanne taken in, not for imprisonment, but for recruitment. The World Star Foundation was built and funded by the Speedwagon Foundation in 1989 as a task force to protect the world from stand users who upset the balance of the world. After the injustice that occurred in Rome in 2001, it's more prepared for anything, especially with its latest recruits, Joanne and Sora being new to the team. Sora's Liger eyes did not come from a stand arrow, but from illegal genetic experimentation. Orphaned by Yakuza and tortured since birth, she was put through test after test until the beast within continues to rage on. Sora longs for the day to see the sun as a free girl, to see it as a human being, even if the world treats her like a monster. Everyone except for Joanne. Joanne had given Sora hope, and was the only person not to treat her like a monster, even if Joanne would admit it herself. But Sora has a new goal, to find the one behind her mutation and bring him to justice. Another recruit named Oshi was also put on the same team as Joanne. Believe it or not, he and Joanne are cousins. They were close, but when tragedy happened and Joanne disconnected herself, young baby Oshi's life and troubles had only just begun. With his parents dying to illness and living on the streets, Oshi was a walking mess, walking aimlessly into an old void of nowhere. But when he went to save a woman abused by her husband, Oshi did the best he could to rush in the action and stop the madness. But striking Oshi led to two deadly mistakes for the abusive man. First, he should not have struck the young boy, and two, his hoarding of valuable items came to be the death for him. No one knows how the husband's head was sliced off, but the wife was finally free. Oshi decided then, should he ever find his cousins again, he would protect them with all his might, no matter what. With the power of his new stand, forged together by his JoJo's, blessed with the stand called Nighttime Fever. Ishikawa Gecko was also brought to the World Star Foundation after the injustice the Yakuza had brought upon him. Born into poverty, he and his sister were fighting to survive every day. The streets were their oyster, and the leftovers were their salvation. They thought they were saved by a kind couple who took them in, but they were forced into a life of slavery. It was a fate no child should ever have to bear. And Ishikawa snapped, killing the husband, but the wife had the house burnt to the ground with everyone inside. Only Ishikawa survived. Sergeant Lance gave Ishikawa another chance to look at how kind the human race can be. Hesitant, he witnessed the joys of life and how much it needs to be protected. But the kindness of Lance and the soul of his sister igniting his flames, he will protect the future of the world with his stand dragon spirit. And finally, we have the last recruit, Aito Yukito, and his stand Ice Heart, capable of freezing and striking opponents. Although he didn't give away much of his background, Lance sensed that there was good in him. Although all five didn't get along, with each mission they grew stronger in stand power and their bond with each other. But their greatest mission began when face to face with the Kamikaze Circus Gang and their latest member, Panakota Fugo. Each member of the circus had pushed the world stars to the limit. Their leader, Cesare, and his stand puppet master had trapped them too easily with Fugo's help. Some believed that Fugo had betrayed those he had loved, but thanks to Joanne and her friends, it gave Fugo a chance to finish his mission. He took our heroes outside and used purple smoke to destroy Cesare. Once free from Cesare's spell, the world stars learned that Fugo was going undercover to gather intel, to learn the name of the one who started the worldwide Yakuza gangs, a man named Koto. They thought their journey was at an end, that they could all go home like nothing ever happened, which caused upset in the group. When they got a call from Lance, and says that Koto knows what they had done, they must be careful going forward. After tasking our heroes to find the triangle and stop Koto, he blew up the base with him inside with his stand Medal of Pride's final ability. Other than giving missions, it destroyed itself to protect any more information from leaking out. The world stars were on their own. In their search to find Koto, in spite of the recent argument, Sora was curious to why Joanne continues to shut people out. Joanne believes once this is all over, it'll be like nothing ever happened. Everyone will just move on. But Sora doesn't believe that, and says Joanne still has a chance to be happy again. Just how Joanne made her feel happy. Oshi overheard the conversation, but then after dealing with a man named Tanzaku with his stand Yo DJ Doctor, they found the location and the full name of Daijoro Koto. Daijoro Koto wasn't always a big businessman and the head of the Yakuza families. He was once a businessman, making a living when a misunderstanding tore his marriage apart. It's not like he was a mind reader. How could he have known that his friends' magazines were under his bed? Fired from his job. How could he know that the train driver overdosed on his way here? In depression, he went to find himself traveling the world. His journey took him to many places like New York, Egypt, Japan, and Rome. But when he arrived in Naples, a miracle stabbed him in the neck. The same arrow that belonged to the Italian boss's stand was the trigger for a new life and a new calling. He tried finding the reason why this calling came before him to find no answer. A close call with a serial killer in Morio, and destroying the minds of his old lover with a new squeeze did Koto truly understand what he needed to do. To use his stand to uncover the reason of its creation and his calling. And from there, he would become the most feared Yakuza boss in the entire world. With an ever-fearsome stand, Mystery Mind. The World Stars began their search for Koto and the Triangle, but free stand users kept them from going near their boss, forcing our heroes to split up while they all worked together to best them. The group of Sora and Aito had one too many surprises. Not only did they have trouble against Downtown Transfer and its stand user John Gallier, but they soon found themselves standing before Koto, who had come to pick up his son, that being Aito. Koto abandoned his son in the hopes of improving Iceheart's power to help him with his goal to save the one Ito loves. Ito once had a girlfriend who died saving him from a mountain climbing accident, and Koto wants to use the power of the triangle to grant wishes in order to bring her back. Sora couldn't let Ito go, but Koto used Mystery Minds to shut off her mind forever. It should have been over, but Liger Eyes had one last surprise. Should the user be killed or put in a coma, the beast is unleashed to rip apart all that stands in its way, including Koto. He sent John Gallier to shoot down Sora, but it barely left John Gallier alive. When fending off a beast, as Koto and Ito leave in a limo, John Gallier escapes, bleeding for his life, leaving the beast to succumb to its wounds. Our heroes find Sora's body, and most of them could barely hold back their tears, but Joanne didn't cry. Not at all. Oshi and Gecko found that she was recording through her body cam on her phone, and found not only Koto's face, but what's going on with Ito and the license plate of the limo. She risked her life so they could win, but soon after Joanne had no tears held back as she yelled for Sora to come back. But Sora was gone. But at the start of recording, it had a message to Joanne and her friends, thanking them for restoring her humanity and to wish them happiness. Though times were sad, our heroes still had a job to do. And by the next morning, they received a letter from the Primo Mafioso, giving them intel on Koto's latest and last known location and where he was going. He was going to Bermuda. In the shadows of darkness, the stars in the sky brighten, beaming and sailing in the golden wind must illuminate hope in honor of those who live to see tomorrow. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Lance had one final surprise for the World Stars. So Lance is dead. I understand what needs to be done. Just tell him to hang in there. I'll be with them shortly. This man was the first to be recruited into the World Stars. His prodigy, West Aquamarine, was on his way. Better known throughout the nation as Weather Forecast. To those who know the story and the tale of Weather Forecast, it isn't a tale for the faint of heart and the unprepared, a story of loss, tragedy, love, and lost memories. But this time it was the girl that took the fall for her battered blood brother. Perla was strung up, while young West Aquamarine could only watch. Rage and revenge fueled his heart, but in honor of Perla, Weather did not seek out Poochie, but left in the shadows and became a terror to those who do not value life as he continued to perfect his stand. The task would have been hopeless if not for the guidance of Lance. He took Weather in and helped him to perfect his stand without doing too much damage to the ozone layer. Weather Forecast and Heavy Forecast were now complete, making Weather the first stand user in the World Stars to fully perfect their stand. The rage still remained, but it will become the source of his strength to stop Koto and his Yakuza empire. Even with Weather's help, Joanne, Oshi, and Gecko would be met with a challenge in the hopes of finding Koto and Ito. Oshi's yo-yos were pushed to the edge against Tamara and her stand, loathing for leather, but thanks to that battle, Nighttime Fever was faster and sharper. Gecko was brought to near death by his childhood friend, Komodo, and his stand Tiger Lord. Though the two were once brothers in arms, Commodore was angry for Gecko for abandoning him to go on his own path. But with his resolve and dragon spirit's evolved flames, along with his punches, Gecko assured him that he will always value their friendship. Commodore would be killed if he failed. So before he died, he left an important message: strengthen the mind. As for Joanne and Weather, when they were looking around for information about Koto, Weather asked if she wanted to kill Aito for betraying them. And it did feel like the case, but there could be more to Aito's betrayal than meets the eye. But before they could say anything, they were struck by Pedro and his stand Graveyard Underground, unleashing a parade of zombie constructs. But Joanne's Mimicat, who was at Act 2, evolves into Act 3 to reach the host. But thanks to Weather's heavy forecast from contracting from the eye, Pedro was turned into a snail, but not before he spilt the beans on where Koto and Aito was going, the Bermuda Triangle. Weather did have his suspicions about the triangle from a marine biologist, a friend of Joanne's family. He's currently fighting to get his daughter out of jail at this time, but he did mark a chart on the possible location of the triangle to Lance and then to Weather. When we were healing up on the boat, Joanne and her friends find a suspicious structure coming from the middle of the triangle, an undersea cave of great and unknown origins. Our heroes have to keep their wits about them, especially when Aito was standing before our heroes, preventing them from going any further. While they were fighting the top officers, a lot had happened. Aito and Koto ventured into the cave first to find what they were looking for, a way to restore Aito's loved one. But to do that, Koto must use Mystery Mind to unlock the secrets that lie in the ley lines within. And only him. He wouldn't take any of Aito's questions and just told Aito to go outside as an awakening had occurred within Daijo Koto's body. Aito fought his old friends fiercely and tried to freeze them all. Joanne wanted to know why he would leave Sora to die. Aito said she agreed to it. Angry at this response, Joanne fiercely batters Ice Hot before she and her friends passed out suddenly. Aito looked to see what Koto had done. He never wanted to save people. He just wanted to use the ley lines to improve the might of Mystery Mind and gain control and access to all human brains, dubbing the ability Azure Heaven. He would rule with Aito at his side. Aito walked towards Koto. He may be of blood, but Koto was never Aito's father, as Iceheart stabbed Koto. As father and son now engage in battle, while our heroes are trapped in their minds with no way out. Rough as it was, Oshi, Gecko, and Weather fought the darkness and escaped their mind, but Joanne wasn't getting up. She was stuck with her younger self. All the trauma she had witnessed as a child, all the people she pushed away, and the rage she had, and it was all choking her. But no matter how dark things became, she was able to light the path for other people, including Sora. Now it was her turn. Even though she grew up and became better, one thing never changes, that Joanne Jojima has the warmest heart in the world. So warm, in fact, that it summoned Mimicat Act 3 and broke her free to face off Koto's Mystery Mind, Azure Heaven, as Aito was bleeding on the ground, along with her friends. Koto wanted to read and control minds. He wanted everything and more than that. But Joanne had everything she wanted. But the one thing she doesn't have yet is the honor of besting Mystery Mind. Two users standing together were both strong, but Mystery Minds can read Mimikat's every move. But when nighttime fever, Joanne was given the upper hand, that is until she was cheap-shotted by Koto by throwing Gecko and Aito's bodies in harm's way, giving him the chance to destroy Joanne's mind. He had won. It was over. But Joanne was okay, and Koto was frozen still. Deep in Joanne's mind, Koto was met with many doors into her memories, except there was a strange figure in each of them, slowly turning towards him. Could this have been a trick? A trick in the eye? Or by Mimikat's power to manipulate what's in the heart? but a voice and another figure behind him reveals that this is the truth of his own heart. No matter how many minds he manipulated or used, he would still be left with his own thoughts and forever be stuck with an endless array of questions and answers. Such is the ability of Mimicat Act 4. Her target was never Koto. Her stand's target was always Mystery Minds, as Koto was punched into one of the doors. With Mimicat Act 4's power, Mystery Minds had awoken to who Koto was. All the pain he had caused, all the hearts he'd broken, and wishes for neither he or Koto to cause trouble any more for the world. Koto angrily curses his stand, decaying into ooze, and dies on the spot. His mind, body, and stand were destroyed, and the cave started to collapse. Our heroes ran for their lives, but the water was coming at them too fast. Aito tried to hold back the ley lines long enough as best he could, but he was ready to die to get everyone to safety. In the end, it was Gecko who stayed behind to blow up the temple so it could never be found again. He thanked his friends for the long journey and wished them all the happiness in the world as Sora did. But even with Gecko's sacrifice, it still wasn't enough to stop the raging waves coming towards our heroes as Weather used weather forecast and used what little he had to get to the mainland. Aito also thanked Joanne for everything and apologized for keeping Sora and his plan to himself. He went with Koto to see what he wanted, only to kill him if he tried to use it. Sora seemed silly for him for saying she should hold off Koto's power alone, along with John Gallier, but she believed in Joanne and hoped that Joanne could continue the fight for everyone's behalf. Aito fell into the waves and used Ice Heart to freeze and calm the storm, costing him his own life as our heroes made it to shore. It was over. The ones whose mind was shut down by Koto were released. The Yakuza gangs lost their boss, and our heroes survived to see tomorrow. But not without a big cost. Sora, Lance, Gecko, and Aito. They were gone, lost forever to the memory of time. For the first time in a long time, Joanne Jojima finally felt at peace. But was deeply saddened by the loss of life. Her heart, who was once cold from all the despair she had suffered, had finally thawed. With a hug from her cousin Oshi, Joanne could no longer hold back the tears and pain that had swelled up in her heart. She was free, and her family was reunited. After mourning what they lost, our heroes returned to their lives with hope and courage in honor of those who would survive to see tomorrow.